The Sangha is invited to come back to our breathing so that the collective energy of mindfulness will bring us together as an organism, going as a river with no more separation. Let the whole Sangha breathe as one body, chant as one body, listen as one body, transcending the boundaries of a delusive self, liberating us from the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex.
From the depth of understanding, a flower of great eloquence bloom. The Bodhisattva stands majestically upon the waves of birth and death, free from all affliction. Her great compassion eliminates all sickness, even that once thought of as incurable. A wondrous light sweeps away all obstacles and dangers. A willow branch once waved reveals countless Buddha lands. Among the flowers blossoms a multitude of practice centers. We bow to her, we see her true presence in the here and now. We offer her the incense of our heart. May the Bodhisattva of deep listening embrace us all with great compassion. Namo Avalokiteshvaraya. Namo Avalokiteshvaraya. Namo Avalokiteshvaraya. Đâu cần dương liễu vương cam lô, một giọt mười phương rưỡi cung đầy, bao nhiêu trần lụy tiêu tan hết, đàn tràng thanh tịnh ở ngay đây. Nam mô Bồ Tát Thanh Lương Địa. Nam mô Bồ Tát Thanh Lương Địa. Nam mô Bồ Tát Thanh Lương Địa. Trí tuệ bừng lên đóa biên tài, đứng yên trên sóng sân trần ai. Cam lồ chữa lành cơn khổ bền,
can I invite the children to come up front and center? The first part of the talk will be for our young folks. So if you're in the children's program, please come up right there. Thank you. Can I ask for a volunteer to help with the microphones? Not in the children's program? So can I invite you to come up so everyone has a chance to see the sprouts in front? You want to come on up? So you can see the sprouts a little more easily? Okay. Okay, so I'd like to invite everyone to sit comfortably, like our friends up here, and to have the chance just to breathe, just to be fully present for one another. Dear respected Tay, dear noble community, dear friends. So today I'd like to share with you a very wonderful gift that all of us in the Sisters Hamlet received this Christmas time. And it came right to our door. It walked into each of our rooms. And it was such a wonderful gift because it was so unexpected. Can I ask you to pull that too so you can take a look? You can pass it around. So this Christmas, for the first time I received pea shoots. That one's pea shoots right there. And it came packaged in like that. And there was a note, a very loving note written by the pea shoots. It introduced itself to me, and it said that I'm here for you. And then it shared that, did you know that I'm made of 20% protein? And that, please take good care of me, water me, just 2 tablespoons of water a day, not too much, not too little. I imagine when it gets bigger, it needs more water, but right now it's a little bit tender. And it said, in a few days, which is about now, I'll be ready for you to eat me. And this was such a lovely and joyful, declaration, very generous. And so we've received many meaningful gifts this winter, but this was one of the most meaningful gifts that I received anyway. It brought a lot of joy to my heart. I want a chance to share with our friends because, in the heart of winter right now, everything seems to be quite cold, brown, dead, and to suddenly receive this in your room, a flash of green life, it's just a joyful reminder that life is right there. It's right in the heart of our winter. So during the holiday seasons, we often tend towards some excesses, like gifts that we give or gifts that we receive that maybe have less or more meaning for us. And I hope that during the winter, in your families, you've had a chance to share something meaningful to one another. I think one thing that touches me is that these pea shoots here, every day we have a chance to see them grow. Every day we have a chance to see them changing. But you have to take a little bit of time to look at it, because if you don't look at it, then you won't see them changing. For example, when they first came to us, they were just a little bit, they didn't have so many leaves as they do now. And I don't know if our brother can zoom in to see it. Very small leaves, and they actually all looked alike. It's kind of like when anyone here have brothers or sisters in the, yeah? Does anyone kind of look like your brother or sister? Yeah. So at the beginning, when we're just kind of sprouting up, we all kind of look alike. We all seem to act alike. But actually, each one of us has, no, you don't think so? But actually, each one of us has their own unique personality and qualities. But only if we take the time to look and see do we start to see these differences. So as you can see for our pea shoots, not all of them are the same size, right? I think when our pea shoots started sprouting, and this was with the help of Sister, it was signed, this little note, it was signed with love from pea shoots. Sister Hyeingim and Sister Sweet Sound, and I think with a little help from Maya, I'm not sure. No? Okay. Well, we had some helping hands, but when these pea shoots just started, they all were in the container all at the same time. But over time, as you can see, they're starting to sprout in different ways. Some are a little taller, some are a little maybe scraggly, some are a little more green, depending on the unique characteristics of each pea shoot. So I think sometimes our parents kind of look at us like shoots too, like sprouts. Everyone here is maybe under the age of 12, right? Right. And we know that once you hit puberty, which is like 12 or 13, you really start to sprout. And that's what we call teenhood. But even as children, every single day, you're changing and growing. Every single day, your brother or sister is changing and growing. And there are tender shoots. There are tender leaves that are coming up. Certain feelings that we have, certain new experiences. And those are the things that are alive and growing in us if we take the time to look at them. And if our parents take the time to notice them, they'll see this kind of evolution in us. So this gift that was given us, I think in part, the care and the love and the attention that was put into putting it together was the nourishment. And in part it was kind of the environment that we're in that reminds us to be aware of these things so that we don't take them for granted. In our community, we have some people who are more green thumbs than not. They take care of the flowers and the orchids, the altar, the greenery that you see in the dining hall, the decorations, because they have an attention and an awareness to how life can be beautified or can be appreciated, and they bring it out through nature. And some of us are not so green-thumbed, but we're practicing to become more aware of it and to take from that a nourishment. So it's like we look at each other as sprouts. Anyone here have a brother or sister right in the midst together? Okay. How about, what's your name? Yeah. Etienne. Etienne? There's going to be a mic coming to you. Okay, so, yeah, you can. Etienne, can I ask you, you can hold the mic if you want. Who's your sibling? Who's your sister or brother?
Right here.
What's their name?
Ronan.
Ronan?
Yeah.
Cool, okay. So, can you share with me, between the two of you, what kind of things do you have in common with one another?
We both like soccer.
Okay. Are you the same age?
Not really.
Not
like
really?
4,
Okay. What?
like almost 4 years apart. So
4 years apart. Okay, who's the elder?
me.
Okay. So what is one unique thing that you see about Ronan, a positive quality that's very special to her? Just one.
He's really good at reading.
She's really good at reading. Okay. How about you? Are you good at reading?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, how about Ronan? Can I ask you to pass the mic to Ronan? Ronan, how about your brother? Do you see something that's unique, really special to him when you take a time to think about your brother that you appreciate about him? Something maybe that you might not have as a quality, but you appreciate about him. This is hard because I'm putting them on the spot, right? It's hard. Do you want to maybe think about it and I can come back to you a little later? Yeah? Okay. Anyone else here? Okay, can you pass the mic to our friend? Yeah, you can face the...
Yeah.
Who's your sibling and what's so special about him?
So my sibling is Jacob. And he's special because, like, whenever he sees somebody new, like somebody that he doesn't know, you can't say like, oh, you're not gonna, like he'll just walk up to them and say, hi! And he'll greet them in like 2 seconds, and then he'll become friends with them. And like,
Wow, that's a really special quality. Very friendly. I bet you some of us already experienced that in the children's program, right? Okay, How about Jacob? Do you want to share something about your bro? What's your brother's name?
Oh, his name's Elias.
Elias? Uh-huh.
He's special because whenever I'm hurt or down, he always helps me up. He's always there for me.
Thank you, Jacob. That's beautiful. Okay, anyone else? Okay, anyone who have a sibling right here in the midst? Okay, how about, what's your name? Leah, you want the microphone? Who's your sibling and what's so special about them?
So this is my brother named Eric,
Eric.
and what's so special about him is
What we're feeling right now is a practice of deep looking. So sometimes things are not right on the surface, right? Sometimes we need some time to just reflect. Like if I had just met Jacob without talking to him or hearing about it from his brother, I wouldn't have said, "Oh, Jacob, the friendly guy," right? It needs some kind of time and experience to take to become aware of. So maybe one thing that touches you about your brother. No? Okay, we can pass it to your brother. It's okay.
So one thing I think I like about my sister is that without my sister, my life would be too easy.
Without your sister, your life would be too easy. Very skillful speech. Yes, so it sounds like your sister is a spice, a wonderful spice in the life of your family. Thank you. Madeline, did you want to share? No? Anyone else? One last sharing. Okay, our friend here. Or, this is a group,
my sister's
okay.
name is Kelsey, and what's so special about her is she's always creative when she's drawing.
When she's drawing? Okay. Is that something that we would be able to know just from looking at Kelsey? Right? Thank you. Okay.
My sister's name is Taryn, and she introduced me to new stuff.
She introduces you to new stuff. Oh, okay. Thank you, Taryn. Thank you, Kelsey. Okay, so we take the time. Ronan, did you have something that you wanted to share, or you okay? Yeah?
My brother is faster than me.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's something to celebrate, isn't it? We don't have to be the fast one. We can have someone else be faster for us. And I really appreciate Ronan sharing that as an appreciation. Okay, so just taking the time, just taking a moment to reflect on our loved ones, like our brother or sister, our mom, our dad, it can open up things for us and help us to appreciate more deeply what's right in front of us. For example, day in and day out, who's offering their care and love to us by way of the food on the table, by the way of the clothes that we wear, by the way of bringing us to this place, to that place? Who's that? Who? Who do we often take refuge in, but maybe we don't appreciate all the time? We're going to have about 24 sad people if you can't answer this question. Yes? Mom and Dad, thank you, thank you. Can we give some flowers of appreciation for our parents right here? And especially thank you to our parents for bringing the children here. because they're like the sprouts here. They nourish us just by their presence. Just by their presence and their freshness and their capacity to be in the moment. Okay, so one last thing before we send you off on your way. We're going to take a moment to look a little bit more carefully at these sprouts, and really, really quickly. First of all, extra points if you can tell me what kind of sprouts they are. I already shared the one on the left are pea sprouts. The one in the middle is close, but not at all. Sunflower seeds. How can you tell it's a sunflower seed? Yeah?
Because of the seeds, they're like the type of seed that's black, has white stripes.
Yeah, they're all wearing heads. They're still wearing the seeds as they come out. And what's the other one? That one's a mystery because actually only the pea sprouts spoke to me, but the other ones are gifts to my sisters, so they're a mystery to me what they are. And we won't know until they grow up a little bit bigger what their full potential is. Anyone have a guess? Sister Kangen, can you give us a hint? Sister Sweet Sound, are you here? She's cooking. They're not just sprouts. None of them are just sprouts. They're all, each one of them are special.
So, I think something in the cushion.
I bet you the kids don't know that in our cushions there are seeds, but they're special kind of seeds. Anyone have a guess from our older folks? You? Buckwheat? Buckwheat, Sister Kay?
Yes, it looks like it.
Okay. Buckwheat, thank you. Okay, so remember, the pea shoot said that it has 20% protein, and the reason that they're sprouting is so that they can give them all their energy to us. So that's what the pea shoots said, when we're ready to eat, you can eat me, and then I'll really be a part of you. So we know there's a lot of energy, a lot of potential, a lot of life. And I'm losing their attention, so this is a good place to stop. So with the next sound of the bell, I would like to invite our sprouts to stand up and to offer their respect to the larger sprouts and then lead them out to the children's program. Can face our parents and our community. Everyone can stand up. Thank you. Enjoy the children's program. Oh, that part of the talk was longer than I thought, so let's see. Thank you. Yeah. There's something about nature that even without conceptualizing it, it just waters, it just nourishes us, doesn't it? I mean, very, very difficult not to smile in the face of all that. So we'll listen to one sound of the bell before we continue. Can everyone see the board on this side? Okay. Dear respected Thay, dear noble community, today is the last day of the year 2017, December 31st, 2017, and we are on the 5th day of our 6-day retreat, holiday retreat at Blue Cliff Monastery. So New Year's is a traditional, New Year's Eve is traditionally a time that we use to reflect on where we've been this past year. It's an artificial marker, but it's useful. Where we've been this past year emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, where we're at right now, and where we want to be, where we want to go, what direction we want to take. Really precious time to take to reflect on where we've been, where we're at, and where we want to go. That's our path of healing. That's our path of nourishment. And part of New Year's is resolution making. Some of us have a great relationship with resolutions, and some of us, whenever we think of resolutions, we think of it as a burden, broken promises, failed attempts, like it's a struggle. So we want to kind of bring that into the fold of our journey in life. Our aspirations and our resolutions don't have to be something that we struggle or fight to attain, fight to hold on to. It can be a kind of unfolding of our life's journey. And that has a lot to do with our capacity to understand. So we're going to look at this through the lens of insight, prajna. I'm looking at our stained glass windows because we don't have them, but in our other monasteries we have always the reminder of mindfulness, concentration, and insight as our path of practice. So what does insight have to do with a reflection of where we've been, where we're at, and where we want to go? We understand prajna, insight or wisdom, as a kind of power, one of the 5 powers. And something that has power or strength is something that has the capacity to effect change. Like when we make a resolution, we want to change something in our life, but often things fall through. We forget, or we don't have the strength behind that resolution, and we fall back into old habits, usually bad habits. So a spiritual practice has the capacity to strengthen this area in our life that can support us to make more effective, more sustainable change. And this is the power of wisdom, the power of insight. So we're going to kind of turn upside down our way of approaching resolutions. We're not going to look at the action. This year I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing. We're not going to look at the action because that's not the foundation. That's not the stable foundation that will effect change. We're going to look at the foundation of our insight. Insight doesn't just come out of nothing. So my sprouts disappeared. Oh. The keeper of the sprouts took them. Thank you. Okay. So we know that these sprouts These insights that we have, they don't just come out of nowhere, and they need causes and conditions in order to awake. So we're going to focus on understanding the causes and conditions of insight so that we have something to take refuge in, so that we have the fuel to push forward transformation, to push forward change in our life, in the lives of our loved ones. And that's why we call it the Tinder. We're not worried about the fire right now. We're worried about the fuel, the tinder, the conditions that will wake up that flame of insight, that insight of connectedness to other people, the insight of compassion, of love, of self-care that maybe many of us have started to touch during this retreat. So the first thing that we want to keep in mind is that insight is front and center of our practice. When we practice mindfulness, when we practice stopping, when we practice loving speech, when we practice deep listening, it's all so that we can create conditions to look more deeply, to understand, and from that insight, we have the strength to make changes in our life. So that's the first thing that we want to keep in mind. This is our foundation. And it's dependent on a number of causes and conditions. Okay. To make it maybe easier for us to keep in mind, we're going to go back to the example of the sprouts. So I didn't have a chance to ask the children to break it down for me, but just very simply, when we have sprouts, what kind of causes and conditions are needed? Very simple. It's like biology 101. Water, thank you. Not too fast though, okay. Water, what else? Air, sun, warmth, time. What? Soil, thank you. Soil. Anything else? What was that? The seed, thank you. Right, we don't want to be growing an elephant, right? We need the right seed to grow the right plant. Seed, soil, water. Sorry? Care, okay. I'm going to put that over here because that's a little bit of an anomaly. Seed, soil, sun, water, air, sun. Oops. Okay. Thank you. We're going to come back to that list. So we know we need this kind of energy to have some sort of transformation in our heart, some sort of sustained change. And already in this retreat, we've already touched some of these sprouts. Can you share with me, for example, some new insights that you've already touched just in the course of these 5 days? New insights or new experiences of your body and mind about your well-being? Sorry? Compassion. Self-compassion, okay? That's a sprout. Some of us have never practiced or even thought that compassion can apply to us, right? So it's the fact that we are aware that we can be the object, let alone we can practice to be more compassionate to ourselves, is a very, very new insight for many of us. Okay, that's one very beautiful sprout. What other new insights what other sprouts have you touched? Commitment, how's that? Commitment, our friend is saying that there's a new energy to make a commitment to something like the holiday retreat, to sitting meditation. Okay? Okay. One more. What other sprouts, what kind of insights have you touched, or even new habits that you've touched during this retreat? Maybe a gentleman for want to hear from our guys. Yes.
Gratitude.
Gratitude. How's that?
I never really broke down like specific parts of my body or my mind, and was grateful for the fact that they function. So that was new for me.
Knew that awareness of the certain parts of the body, gratitude for their capacities and their functions. Okay, thank you. When we're in a new environment, there's for sure, just like these external conditions, when we're in another environment, it makes us touch different things in ourselves. So my challenge or invitation to you is each one of us here, even though you may not have raised your hand, has been touching something new. Just like when we say nature, there's always something new in nature to see. There's always something for us to see with new eyes. So each one of us have these sprouts that are maybe slowly or quickly manifesting in us. And I'd like to invite you to keep your personal insights, your personal habits, new habits in mind as we talk about this. So the first thing is that we recognize that there are things that we value, a direction that we want to take, a new insight, a new habit that we've already actually experienced here. And now the question is, how do we nurture it? How do we grow it? What are the causes and conditions that have given rise to these sprouts of these 5 days? Just 5 days, just imagine that. Out of 365 days, you change your environment, you set your body and mind in a healthy space, a wholesome space, and already you're touching things in you that are shifting. Your body and mind are shifting. So our direction is we want to nourish that. We don't want our sprouts to wither and die after we leave the monastery, I hope, right? We want to know what it is that we've touched here that we, with our capacities, we bring along with us out there. So now we're going to look at the causes and conditions. And this is part of our resolution making. We're not going to look at the action. We're looking at how we can nourish the causes and conditions. So the seed, what is that seed? That seed that has all the potential, just like those sprouts, that has all the potential to grow into something beautiful if we take care of it, is our seed of awareness. In the mindfulness trainings, we know that it is, first of all, awareness of the things that cause us suffering. We have that maybe relationship with suffering in the past where we've run because we suffer, but we actually maybe didn't even know that we suffered. Or we had not a healthy way of dealing with that suffering. So, for example, we repressed it, or we shut it down. Or that difficult person in our life, we hurt in an effort to stop that suffering, to stop that discomfort. So this is a condition. Without this awareness, many of us would not be in a place of spiritual practice. So let us not overlook the importance of being continually aware of suffering and our relationship with suffering. Okay? Okay. The soil. The soil of our Awakening is very concrete. It's what's going on in our physical body, what's going on in our mind. Buddhism is very clear that there is a non-duality between body and mind. What goes on in the mind often translates directly into the body. The aches and pains of the body are because we're having tension in the mind. And it's also vice versa. So we take care of our soil. We cannot grow our insight. We cannot sprout something beautiful if we just let our soil go to pot. Let our soil go to waste. So here at the retreat, we're learning how to recognize, like our friend said, just to start to identify, acknowledge, and recognize the importance, the presence of our body. We're also learning how to recognize, identify, and acknowledge our emotions. The fact that we are thinking rather than just thinking and being pulled away by our thought. And in so recognizing, we're learning how to take care of the soil so that our suffering can grow beautifully and not be neglected. So at the very least, we are learning not to neglect our body, not to neglect our mind. And in the most ideal, we're learning how to really take care of it, heal, nourish. Okay. Another condition for our insight to arise is the sun of mindfulness practice. Or we can just say practice in general. Practice of the Dharma. We have a song that says, the Buddha is my mindfulness shining near and far. So Dharma practice is taking what we learn here and applying it. The Dharma doors that we've picked up. Some of us, sitting is not your thing. That Dharma door is maybe not your thing. But there are other ways of practice that bring us back to attention of our body and mind in a healthy, healing way. For example, what other Dharma doors have you touched here? Oliver? We have so many Dharma doors. So what's one that's speaking to your body, to your mind? Walking, meditation, out in nature, with friends. Okay. What else? What other Dharma doors that you've touched here? Yes? Working meditation? What aspect in particular? Awareness of the movement, the action during working meditation, as opposed to just doing it to get things done, right? Or thinking, not being present. Good. One more. Oliver?
Sharing deeply in Dharma sharing.
Sharing deeply in Dharma sharing. Mindfully speaking, mindfully listening. Okay, so these are all the kind of steady practices. We call them nourishment because they help us to engage with our body and mind in a healthy, wholesome way. Okay, water. Water. And are we taking care of these? Are we making the conditions to take care of these conditions so that our insights can arise? In the wintertime, at Blue Cliff, we put extra time to have classes together to study the Dharma. But throughout the year, as practitioners, we are always encouraged to take the initiative to continue to study so that our practice can deepen. One very concrete way of Dharma study is the 5 mindfulness trainings. When we take the time to recite, to reflect on the words as they may or may not be relating to our daily life, it is a way of opening this door. So water is something that seeps into our life. It's something that allows things to circulate. It allows us to integrate things. So we bring in new elements, open up our horizons. This is how I'm reacting with anger now. But I remember in this sutra it says there's 5 ways of dealing with anger. What was that third way, It opens up a horizon, a different horizon, and allows us to take a step, because now that's part of our repertoire. So study and practice, they go together. We practice blindly without the study. It doesn't give us a direction, okay? Okay. The air that the sprouts need. How present is aspiration in our life? And by aspiration, it's very important that we differentiate it's intentional, and wholesome. So volition, it's in the ether. It's the thing that we breathe that pushes us or pulls us to do things. And if it's not intentional, then it could become something, or it could be by nature unwholesome. So, for example, are you driven by a sense of revenge? Maybe because of a past hurt. But is your energy coming from a place of wanting to punish or revenge? That is a kind of volition or aspiration that is not wholesome. It's what kind of poisons your interactions, your way of looking, your way of, reacting, because it's through that lens. Or do you have an intention, do you have a volition to help other people? For example, when we see the children, what comes up in our mind? Do we see ourself in them? Do we see our continuation? Do we see them as future generation that we want to support and nurture? So are we aware of our ether, what we're swimming in? Is it a toxic air, or is it a healthy, wholesome air? Some people are driven by the desire to succeed, to achieve. And here in the States, on the surface, we may not think that that is a bad thing, because it gets us somewhere. It helps us to attain, it helps us to achieve, it helps us to contribute productively to society. But looking again with the eyes of the Dharma, looking more deeply, what is behind that sense of achievement? Because it can be wholesome or unwholesome achievement. So do we, in our volition, do we think of ourselves as wanting to be the best, to achieve the best? For what reason? Okay. Sorry? To be seen. So that's another example of a kind of a volition. Do we do things in order for us to be validated, Our friend said to be seen, to be recognized. So this is an air, this is a kind of nourishment that we need to revisit, look at the conditions. And it gets to the heart of how we define happiness for ourselves. Because we only run to something that we think we want and will bring us some sort of benefit. And we only run away from things, normally things that we suffer from, that we feel are causing us harm. So I'd like to take a moment to invite you to turn to a friend in the group, and we'll listen to a sound of the bells just so we can take a reflection on this. Happiness. Have you ever really thought of what it is that makes you happy? Have you ever put it into words? Because we all have a concept of what brings us happiness, but it can be very muddy. But our volition is pushing us in that direction. So let us take just a minute to reflect on what our past, or even maybe current understanding of what our true happiness means. What is it hinged on? Okay, so if you can please turn to your next door neighbor and share briefly in a couple of sentences this deep question. How do you define your happiness? Or how did you define your happiness? Okay, maybe just one or two more sentences, and then if we haven't switched, please switch to give the other person a chance to share. Okay. Can someone volunteer a past way of defining our happiness? Either your own or something you've observed in others. Yes? Being recognized by others. Mm-hmm. Being financially independent. How many of us have been bitten by that? Yeah. I don't know, it's funny. Yeah, in a way it kind of tickles us, but it's true, it's not so funny, right? Yeah, the fetter of materials. Okay, one other. Past or present happiness. Yes? So our friend, I'm not sure if that picked up on the microphone. No. Our friend has shared that finding peace was her way of defining happiness, and that she, through her own work, was able to touch and attain that. And to her it was a deep and sustained source of happiness, right? Okay. So our teacher has shared with us that often when we define happiness in a certain way, we limit ourselves. So we shut the door to things. We're not open to parts of ourselves, parts of others, parts of life, and we run toward and we run away. So this is part and parcel of our exploration of the condition of our ether. Do we define happiness in a certain way? And how do we define our happiness? Is it a way that's open, allows us to continue to explore, or does it shut us down? Does it narrow our choices? Does it cut people out of our life? Okay, so moving on to the sixth element. Someone mentioned the warmth, and it's true. When we were looking into growing plants during the winter, most of our buildings are not that warm, as you've probably experienced. But in West Wing, the dining hall that we opened up for this retreat is the one room that's warm enough. And so we decided to put all of our orchids, and our sisters, when they were helping our pea shoots and other sprouts to sprout, they put them in there. And I'm growing arugula in there too, because that's basically one of the only spaces that has enough warmth. So we also, as practitioners, as we want to find the conditions for us to be supported, also need that kind of warmth. And that's what we call a sangha, or a practice environment. For some of us, sangha means something like this, where we come, there's many like-minded practitioners coming. There's a space of safety and support. People are speaking, exemplifying the practice in concrete ways to remind us, that's what it means to stop. That's what it might look like to speak more gently, more mindfully. That's what it means not to get sucked into my work and forget about everything else. For some, a practice environment means more quiet, less busyness, meaning pulling away from our habitual relationship with work or other distractions. So whatever conditions, environmental conditions that open up the capacity to be more in touch with your body and mind is the practice environment. That's the ambiance, that's the warmth. And again, we are lazy practitioners in a way, so seek the environment that supports you so you don't have to try so hard to grow your insight. We're not trying to pop up an insight, we're just allowing it to happen with the supportive conditions. So if you have a community, that's great. If you don't have a community, then look here while you are in community at what conditions in the environment. Is it the quiet? Is it the lack of distraction while I'm eating? Is it the path that I'm walking from my quarters to the dining hall that I've touched peace? And you recognize, identify those elements and bring them back into your daily life, and that becomes your sangha. That becomes your practice environment. That becomes the ambiance with which you can sprout. And lastly, time. Time, that's referring both to the passive time, allowing things just to happen, and also the time that we put in to the practice. So it's a passive and an active element. And amount, meaning, yes, we know that water is good. We know that study is good, but too much study is not good. If you're studying all the time and not putting anything into practice, then you're a great encyclopedia, but not much of a practitioner, right? So moderation, knowing the right balance, and that's what we call diligence, right diligence. We know what it is that we are touching and how to balance it. We know when the positive, the nourishments are there, we recognize it, and we know how to bring it in the right amount. Even practice can be immoderate. If you're practicing to the extent that you're getting stressed, that it's past your physical capacity, for example, some people try to sit for hours on end, which is fine if you are in that mental, physical space to do so. But some of us just do it in form without it meeting us where we're at, and it becomes unhelpful, unbeneficial. So right diligence is knowing what is nourishing, knowing how to take care of that nourishment when it's there, knowing how to maintain it when it's there, and also knowing what is toxic, what is unwholesome in our life, internally, externally, and knowing in a timely way how to take care of it so that it doesn't accumulate, it doesn't hurt us. So time, that's the time that we take to look intentionally. Now, coming back to the passive aspect of time. Okay, nature is nourishing in part because it's easeful. Time, they just sat here. I just added a little water. Our sisters added the soil. Every day we add a little bit of water, a little bit of care. We observe it, and on its own it grows. There's something very beautiful and empowering about that message that it inherently has that capacity to arise, to sprout. We all have that inherent capacity to awaken, to heal, if we give it the conditions. So this is the passive part of offering space and time. So we are the field that we're cultivating. Our mind, very rich, fertile. Our body, many experiences from which to grow these insights to awaken from. And we are also the farmer. We are the ones who are cultivating, who are the stewards of our own body and mind. It's very empowering. You are the farmer, you are the field. You are both. So this New Year's Eve, this afternoon, we will have a space for personal reflection, to reflect on, and this is my personal invitation, to reflect on these 7 elements, these conditions for your insights, for your well-being, for your wise way of living. What kind of actions related to this can support you in the new year? As we come into the new year, we begin anew. We continue in a way that's more beautiful. Are there things in each of these areas that we can support, find more support for? And it's very concrete. If we see that our awareness of our suffering isn't so deep, there are ways that we can water that seed of awareness. Again, coming back to the 5 mindfulness trainings, right? The way of engaging with the 5 mindfulness trainings to wake up an awareness. How about our body? How many of us here have rested more than we've ever rested in the last half a year? Right? How easy is it to change just one little thing to find a better way to take care of the soil of our body? Is there one kind of practice of mindfulness that we have found helpful here that we are able to commit to? Not because we're going to grit our teeth and get through it, but because we've already touched the benefit. How many of us here touch something that they feel they can bring back? Very simple practice, right? Very simple practices. Coming back to the breath with the bell. We don't even have to remember that. We just need to have a bell, right? The phone rings on its own, and all we need to do is go, oh, wow, breathe. Oh, wow, stop. Oh, wow, check in with my body. What's going on with my body? What's going on with that tension? And let it go. So very concrete ways that we can look to the causes and conditions that will grow our insight. And I think we're going to have a resolution burning too this afternoon. Yes, okay. So this afternoon is really reserved for your incubation, reflection of what has been working well for you and what you'd like to bring out, to nurture, so that you have enough fuel for the new year, throughout the new year, to make sustained change, to have enough oomph to make that change that you really know in your heart that you want to make, but haven't had the willpower, the energy, the conditions to do. So wishing you a lot of joyful and productive looking this afternoon, and having a chance to continue beautifully into the new year. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for being here.